My dad called me at 1 a.m. after 4 years of complete silence. The first words out of his mouth were, "We need to talk about the will. Come home this weekend." I said, "Okay," and hung up. Then I sat in the dark for almost an hour before calling my solicitor at 9 a.m. By the time I walked through the door of my father's house 2 days later, I already knew exactly what they were planning. Is there anyone in your life that you wish you could get revenge on? Tell me in the comments who that person is and what they did. I'd really like to know your story. And please don't forget to like and subscribe so I can continue bringing you these stories. Your support helps me keep creating and sharing new content for you. My name is Elena Voss, and this is the story of how my family suddenly remembered I existed the moment they needed something from me. For the last 4 years, I had been completely cut off from my family. After my grandfather passed away, my father, stepmother, and younger brother acted like I didn't exist. They never called, never messaged, and never invited me to any family events. The only reason I even knew they were alive was through distant relatives or social media. My grandfather had left me a significant portion of his wealth and property in his will. My father and stepmother had tried everything to challenge it legally, but they failed. After that, they simply decided to erase me from their lives. I had accepted it. I moved on. I built my own life in another city and stopped expecting anything from them. Until that night. It was 1:07 a.m. when my phone rang. I was still awake, working on my laptop. The name flashing on the screen made me pause for a second. Dad. I stared at it for a few rings before finally answering. Hello? There was a short pause before I heard his voice. Elena, it's me. His voice sounded the same as it always did. Calm, slightly authoritative, and distant. I know it's late, he continued, but we need to talk. It's important. I didn't say anything. I just waited. It's about your grandfather's will, he said. There are some complications that have come up. We need to sit down and discuss everything as a family. Can you come home this weekend? I stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then I replied, okay. There was another pause on his end, like he didn't expect me to agree so easily. Good, he said. We'll talk when you get here. I didn't ask any questions. I didn't ask why, after 4 years of silence, he suddenly wanted to talk about the will. I just said okay, and ended the call. I sat in the dark for a long time after that, staring at nothing. I already knew this wasn't a normal conversation. My father never did anything without a reason. If he was calling me after 4 years just to talk about the will, then something was definitely wrong. And I had a strong feeling it had nothing to do with my grandfather's wishes. The next morning, at exactly 9 a.m., I called my solicitor. 2 days later, I drove back to my father's house. It had been 4 years since I last stepped foot in that place. The house looked exactly the same. Big, cold, and unwelcoming. I parked my car outside and sat there for a few minutes, staring at the front door. I already knew why they had called me. My solicitor had done a thorough check after our conversation the previous morning. He discovered that my father and stepmother had been trying to challenge my grandfather's will for the past year. They had even hired a lawyer to find loopholes so they could reduce my share or take control of the assets that were left in my name. They thought I was still the same naive girl who would come running the moment they called. They had no idea that I had already prepared for this. I took a deep breath, got out of the car, and walked toward the house. My stepmother, Victoria, opened the door. The moment she saw me, she put on a big fake smile. "Elena, you're here," she said, opening her arms like she wanted to hug me. "It's been so long. Come inside. Everyone is waiting." I didn't hug her back. I simply nodded and walked inside. My father was sitting in the living room with my younger brother, Daniel. The moment I entered, both of them stood up. My father walked toward me with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Elena," he said, It's good to see you. You look well. I gave him a small nod. You called, so I came. We all sat down. The atmosphere was thick with tension. My father cleared his throat and started speaking. Elena, we asked you to come because we need to discuss your grandfather's will. There are some complications that have come up recently. The lawyer we consulted said that some parts of the will can be challenged. We think it would be better if we all sit together and come to a mutual agreement. I stayed quiet and let him continue. Victoria leaned forward and said in a soft voice, "We're not trying to take anything from you, Elena. We just want things to be fair. Your grandfather was old when he made that will. He wasn't thinking clearly. We believe he would have wanted the assets to be divided equally among all his children." I looked at her and asked calmly, "So, you want me to give up my share?" My father quickly said, "Not give up, just adjust things a little. We can all benefit if we work together as a family." I leaned back on the sofa and looked at all three of them one by one. "Let me get this straight," I said. "After ignoring me for 4 years, you suddenly remembered I exist because you want me to give up the inheritance my grandfather left specifically for me?" Daniel, my brother, spoke for the first time. "Come on, Elena, don't be so difficult. We're family. Families compromise." I looked at him and smiled coldly. "Funny. I don't remember any of you treating me like family for the last 4 years. The only time you remembered I existed was when you needed something from me." My father's face hardened. "Elena, don't make this difficult. We're trying to handle this like adults." I reached into my bag and took out a file. I placed it on the table in front of them. "What's this?" my father asked. "Open it," I said. He opened the file. Inside were copies of documents, the original will, the trust papers I'd created, and the legal opinion from my solicitor. I looked at them and said, "I already know what you're trying to do. You've been trying to challenge the will for the past year. You even changed lawyers twice because the first two told you that the will is solid. So now you're trying to emotionally manipulate me into giving up my share." Victoria's face turned pale. My father's jaw tightened. You already knew?" he asked. I nodded. "I knew the moment you called me at 1 a.m. after 4 years of silence. People like you don't suddenly want to talk about the will unless they're desperate." My brother looked at me with anger. "So you came here prepared to fight us?" I looked at him and replied, "No, I came here to make one thing very clear. I'm not giving up anything. And if any of you try to challenge the will or create problems for me, I will take legal action. I already have all the proof I need." The room went completely silent. My father stared at the documents in front of him, his face turning red with anger and frustration. Victoria looked like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. My brother just sat there, staring at me with pure hatred. I stood up from the sofa. "I think we're done here," I said. "If you have anything else to say, you can contact my lawyer. I won't be discussing this with any of you personally again." I picked up my bag and started walking toward the door. Just as I reached the entrance, my father called out from behind. "Elena, you're making a big mistake. You're going to regret this." I stopped and turned around one last time. "No, Dad," I said. "The only thing I regret is spending so many years trying to be part of this family." Then I walked out of the house and closed the door behind me. After I walked out of my father's house that day, I didn't look back. I drove straight to my apartment and didn't contact any of them for the next 2 weeks. I knew they wouldn't stay quiet for long. 3 days later, my father called me again. This time his tone was much harsher. "Elena, you're making a huge mistake," he said. "We've already spoken to another lawyer. We're going to challenge the trust in court. You can't just take everything and cut us off like this. We're your family." I stayed calm and replied, "You can try, but I've already spoken to my solicitor. The trust is legally protected. You won't win." He got angry and started raising his voice. "You're being selfish. That money should stay in the family. Your grandfather would never have wanted this." I cut him off. "Grandpa left that money to me, Dad, not to you. And if he were alive today, he would be disappointed in how you've treated me for the last 4 years. Don't use his name to justify your greed." He didn't have anything to say after that. He simply ended the call. Over the next few weeks, my family tried everything. They sent my brother to talk to me. They even got some relatives to call and emotionally blackmail me. But I didn't respond to any of them. Then, one day, I received a legal notice. My father had actually gone ahead and filed a case to challenge the trust. He was claiming that I had unduly influenced my grandfather and that the trust was created under pressure. I wasn't surprised. I handed everything over to my lawyer and let him handle it. Because I had prepared everything properly from the beginning, the case didn't stand a chance. Within 4 months, the court dismissed my father's petition. The trust remained under my sole control. My father's reputation took a hit in our social circle. People started talking about how he was trying to take his own daughter's inheritance. Some of his business partners even distanced themselves from him. My stepmother and brother also stopped contacting me after the case was dismissed. I think they finally understood that I wasn't going to give in. One evening, almost a year after that 1 a.m. phone call, I was sitting in my apartment when I received a message from my father. It was short and simple. "I'm sorry." I stared at the message for a long time. I didn't reply. Because sometimes an apology comes too late, especially when it only arrives after someone has already lost the power to hurt you. Looking back at everything, I realized a few important things. For years, I had stayed quiet and tried to maintain some kind of relationship with my family, even when they treated me poorly. I kept hoping that one day they would accept me. But the truth is, some people only value you when they need something from you. The moment they don't need you anymore, they discard you. I also learned that protecting yourself is not selfish. When I moved my inheritance into a private trust before my 18th birthday, I wasn't being greedy. I was being careful. And that one decision saved me from losing everything later. Most importantly, I understood that real strength isn't about fighting loudly. It's about staying calm, preparing properly, and refusing to let people take advantage of you, even if those people are your own family. I don't hate them, but I also don't trust them anymore, and I've made peace with that. Is there anyone in your life that you wish you could get revenge on? Tell me in the comments who that person is and what they did. I'd really like to know your story. And please don't forget to like and subscribe so I can continue bringing you these stories. Your support helps me keep creating and sharing new content for you.